Hello, kindred friend. I want to offer a morning meditation for the messy because I don't know about you, but when I get up, I don't feel very good. I enjoy mornings because I get my moments and time of rest and rejuvenation, but I don't feel very rejuvenated when I wake up. I have a lot of chronic health problems. I don't get very good sleep. And some of the meditations I hear around online, and when I try to search for things to center me, I just hear voices that are not messy. And as I have talked about before, I am a big fan of acknowledging how life really is. And I'm not saying anything disrespectful about other meditations out there. I don't know what I would do without them. They are ways to come back to my center when I feel lost. But I wanted to offer an alternative for people who don't feel put together or might feel that they can't imagine what being not messy feels like. And acknowledging that it is hard to be still in your body when you have a mind that is going 1,000 miles a minute, when you have a background in trauma, when you have a nervous system that has been trained to be hypervigilant. It is hard to relax. And why is it a bad thing to be messy? What do we mean by messy? But for me, messy simply means full of emotions and thoughts. And it might not all look linear or make sense to someone else. So messy isn't a negative thing. So when I say meditation for the messy, I mean meditation for those who have a hard time being quiet, those who have a hard time relaxing, those who have a hard time existing in the spaces and the pauses in between words or sounds or thoughts. So this intuitive meditation, because I have not planned this out, this will be coming from my heart in the moment, and it very well might have some issues, some flubs, some stutters, who knows. But I want to show that we don't have to do this perfectly. We don't have to do this with pretty music in the background, and we don't have to do this with a mind that is very good at calming down and being still. Because we're all not in that place, and that's okay. So with that in mind, I would love to invite, and by invite, I mean all of this is optional. You can stop in the middle, you can stand up and walk around, you can pace, you can scroll on your phone. Whatever you want to do is the right thing for you in this moment. So if you feel it is within your ability in this moment, I invite you to close your eyes. And if that doesn't feel right, you can open them and gaze somewhere that feels good. I have my instruments over there, and I like to look at them. I have some art pieces too that make my eyes happy. So wherever it is that you would like to gaze or to close your eyes. And I would like to ask you to think about, how does it feel to do this right now? How does it feel to sit? Or if you're lying down, or if you're walking or pacing or standing. How does it feel to have your eyes closed or to have them gazing at some object? And I invite you next to place a hand on your heart and just to notice that. You might feel your chest rising and falling. You might even feel a heartbeat. It is there whether or not you feel it. And for me, when I put my hand on my heart, I'm surprised by how just that action, and if I press a little firmly, that in itself makes me feel a little tethered, connected. And if you want to try that, I invite you to do so. To think about, what does it feel like for you to have your hand on your heart and to press just a little more as you really acknowledge that that is your heartbeat. This is your body. This is your hand against your chest. And we have a variety of backgrounds about our relationship with our body. And some people don't want a relationship with their body. If that's you, feel free to lift your hand up. And you can put it someplace else. You can put it on a pillow. You can rest your arm by your side. I want you to know that you can access meditation no matter what your needs are. Meditation is not just for people who are able to sit quietly and still and are able to be centered and deep breathing and be able to sit in cross-legged way. There are an infinite amount of ways to approach this. So, back to the hand, wherever it may be for you, but for me right now it is on the heart. And I'm going to take a breath in and exhale. And I can tell that my shoulders are really tight. I can tell that my neck and back, that's the area that holds stress. That's a bit tight right now. So I'm going to take another breath in and exhale. That made me feel a little dizzy, so I'm glad I'm sitting down. All these things are things to think about and not consider that you've done it wrong. And in this moment, I thought about other places you might want to place your hand. The thought came, what about the top of your head? When I put my hand on the top of my head and breathe in and breathe out, that's curious. There's a certain, for me, grounding, I guess. I'm going to open my eyes just for a moment. So I look rather silly. But I have moments when I feel extremely untethered and extremely disassociated. And that's just from past trauma, and just a lot of stress and fear and anxiety. And I remember going around and telling people in my life, I feel so untethered. I don't know where I belong, especially after some recent trauma that I had. I would say that very often. I don't know who I am is something I would say often. And mostly this what happened during high intensity anxiety and panic. And so I wonder what would happen if I were to do breathing with my hand on my head. Because I feel the warmth of my scalp. And if I just press a little bit, the way that I did on my heart, press a little bit, that actually feels a bit grounding. It feels to me, and it might not for you, and that's fine, but for me it feels a little comforting and a reminder that I'm not like flying off in all directions. So, take that for what it's worth. So this was the meditation for the messy. It didn't really have a clear beginning, middle, ending. I don't expect you to feel any different than when you started. And think about what that means. What kind of agenda do you have when you go into a meditation, when you try to do a guided meditation? What do you come in there with? Do you think that you ought to have an experience? Do you know what that experience is? Are you expecting yourself to come out of it feeling better? My question to you is, what does better mean? And do you want that? Is it what you need in this moment, or is it something that someone else has told you? Is it something that society has told you? You can't feel sad, or you can't feel anxious, so why don't you go do a meditation? The last question I want to leave you with is a gentle, loving question. And it is a question born from many years in my life of running away from what I'm about to ask you. My question is, what would it be like to sit in the anxiety? I know. Most of us spend every day trying to run away from those feelings. Why do we want to exist in them? Why do we want to feel them? It's terrifying. It feels like the world is ending. It can feel like we're dying. And while there is absolutely a place for relaxation and coping skills and different healing modalities to come out of those really intense emotions, my question is, what would happen if we felt those emotions first and then decided, do I want to do these other things to make me feel different? Because I don't believe that any emotion is bad. And that might be a controversial statement, but I really believe that emotions have a purpose, and I might talk about that in a different video. But I think I'm going to wrap it up. I thank you for making it this far. Intuitive sharings can run a little long, and if you don't have a large attention span, I don't have a very good attention span, and this is why I'm offering these short meditations for people who come from a messy moment, is because I don't have the attention to sit and meditate and breathe. So at the 16.5-minute mark, I thank you if you are still here. And I look forward to seeing you again and exploring what it means to be in the middle of the mess. Because the mess does not have to be negative. Sometimes it's just where we need to be before we move into the place that we would like to be. Thank you. Take care.